What's up, guys? So we have reached the last lesson of Unit 12 on circles. And so we are now going to be looking at the equation of a circle. So basically, if I was to graph a circle, what are some problems and what are some things I would do to end up solving for the equation of a graph or making the equation of a circle, basically. Okay, so let's jump into that. So the first thing we're going to look at is exactly what I mean by the equation of a circle. So right now, if you look, I have the value of x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. It's a weird looking formula, but it's actually really easy to understand. So right now, if you look at my graph, my h and my k, meaning my x coordinate of my center of the circle, and my k coordinate or my y coordinate of the center of the circle, is where you're going to plug in the h and k, okay? And then the x and y coordinate is actually going to represent any point that is going to be around the circle here. And then right now the r squared is actually going to be the radius of your circle. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're given these pieces of the puzzle, you then can just plug it into the formula and get the equation of the circle. So if I was to type this into the calculator or Desmos and I wanted to make this circle, I would type in the center and I would type in the radius and it would give me the equation of the circle. So we're going to be taking this formula and we're going to be using it in our examples. Okay, so let's jump into that. All right, so looking at example number 1, it wants me to end up using this equation of a circle, and it wants me to find the radius and the center of that, okay? So you know up top in your problem that this is r squared, so that means the radius is going to be the square root of that. So that means if I turn this into the power of 2, that would end up being 3 squared. So I'm going to turn 9 into 3 squared. So my radius is actually going to end up being 3. So my r is going to equal 3. So now with my radius equaling 3, now we need to find the center. So if we actually look up top, I have x minus h and I have y minus k. Remember I told you guys that the center of the circle is the h and the k. So literally I'm going to plug what the h is. So right now the h is 2 and right now the k is 1. So that means the center of my circle is 2, 1. So now if I wanted to sketch this circle, I would go and graph the center of the circle, which is 2, 1. So I'm going to go over 2, up 1, which is going to be about right there. And I know my radius is 3. So look, if I count over 1, 2, 3, that's going to be the outside of the circle. 1, 2, 3, that's the outside of the circle. 1, 2, 3, that's the outside of the circle. And 1, 2, 3, that's the outside of the circle. So right now I can do a rough sketch of this and make a circle. It's not that good of a circle here, but I could make a circle of something of what it would look like. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the sketch. A center of 2, 1 and a radius of 3, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Let's jump over to example number 2. So now looking at example number 2, I've been given a circle on a coordinate system, and it says I need to write the equation for the graph of that circle. So right now I'm going to be using that formula up top on the top of your paper. So let's go ahead and look at that. So right now I'm just going to write it, and then I'm going to erase and replace, and then you can put what I put, okay? So the equation of the circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, and that's going to be equal to r squared. So right now I need to figure out my h and k. Remember, h and k is the center of the circle. So if I look, my center of my circle is going to be right here, right in the middle of that circle. So that is going to be over 2 and up 4. So my negative 2 and up 4 is going to be the center of the circle. So that is my h and my k. So I'm literally just going to replace the h and k with negative 2 and 4. So my h right now, so this down here, is going to turn into x minus negative 2, okay? And then I'm going to replace the k here with 4. Now I need to find the radius. So I'm going to go from the center of the circle and count over. So 1, 2, 3. So the radius here is going to be 3. So ladies and gentlemen, this would end up being the equation of your circle. So right now my center, I already found it, was negative 2 and 4. And the radius of my circle was actually 3, okay? And so, ladies and gentlemen, this would then end up being the equation of your circle if I plugged it in. And just so y'all know, your double negative here would actually turn into plus. So this would turn into x plus 2. So anytime you plug in a negative value into these equations, that double negative there is going to end up changing it to positive. So right here, if you look, it stayed negative. So that means I plugged in a positive. Right here, it changed to plus because I plugged in a negative because of that double negative. Okay? Let's jump to example number 3. So on example number 3, it says we need to write the equation of the circle using the following information. So right now I have the center of my circle, so I have my h and k, but if you look, I don't have my radius yet, but I've been given the area. I know the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared, correct? So the area of the circle is going to equal pi r squared. So my area is 25 pi. So now I need to get the radius by itself. So I'm going to divide by pi on both sides. So that's just going to cancel the pi. And then I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So my radius is going to equal 5. So now I have all my information to plug into my formula here, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and plug and play here. So I'm going to do x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. So my radius is 5, so 5 squared. So ladies and gentlemen, this would technically end up being my example here. But if you look, since I'm subtracting 0, x minus 0 is still just x. So this would actually turn into x squared plus y minus 13 squared is equal to 25. So that would end up being my equation, because that's going to end up being 0 there, okay? All right, so right now on example number 4, it says we need to write the equation of the circle using the following info. So right now, these 2 points are actually the ends of my diameter. So let's go and think. If I have a circle and I draw my diameter, that's all the way across. So right now, if I want to end up finding the center, I would actually be finding the midpoint of that line. So I need to find the midpoint of these first, which is I'm adding the x coordinates together and dividing by 2. And then I'm adding the y coordinates together and dividing by 2, okay? So right now, the two x's are 18 and 4, and the two y's are negative 13 and negative 3. So 18 plus 4 is going to end up giving me 22. 22 divided by 2 is going to be 11. Negative 13 plus negative 3 is going to be negative 16. Negative 16 divided by 2 is going to be negative 8. So ladies and gentlemen, this is my h and k. I just found it, okay? Now I need to find my radius by doing the distance formula here, correct? But I need to end up finding half of that. So right now, if you look, now I need to find the distance from the center to one of these here, okay? So I'm going to end up using the distance formula. So the distance formula is going to be x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared, okay? So I'm going to end up taking 11, negative 8, and 4, negative 3, and using those two. So the distance between 11 and 4, 11 to 4, is going to end up being 7. So this is going to be 7 squared. The distance from negative 8 to negative 3 is going to end up being 5. 7 times 7 is 49. 5 times 5 is 25. 40 plus 20 is 60. 9 and 5, so this would be square root of 74. So that would end up being your radius there, is going to end up being what the radius is there. So now I would just plug all of that into a formula, which I'll do it up here. So parentheses x minus h, which is 11, squared, plus y minus k, which is negative 8, squared, equals, and then I'm going to do the square root of 74, and I'm going to square that. So ladies and gentlemen, that would end up being my formula in any form there. So if I actually simplified that, that would turn into plus, and then I would actually end up getting rid of the square root symbol, which it would just be 74 there, okay? So ladies and gentlemen, we're taking all this info. Make sure you use that formula at the top of your notes. Apply it to your skill check. If you're needing any help, please let me know.